Watches and Wonders has now concluded for the year, and with most of the hype dying down, I thought I'd reflect on the event and share my experience of what it was like attending on a public day. The cost of the standard one-day entry ticket was 70 Swiss francs, so around 84 US dollars at the time of this recording, and prior to the convention, I didn't really know what to expect. Sure, there was plenty of media coverage leading up to it and within the first few days of opening, but these early days were not open to the general public, so many of the experiences could be different. First off, the location of the event was quite convenient, being held at the Palexpo, which is situated close to the airport, so if you're someone that's flying in, it's relatively easy to get to, which I appreciated, especially since it was my first time in Switzerland in general. Not only that, there were free shuttle buses offered which took you straight to the expo and back to nearby hotels and surrounding stops, and the best part about it is, you don't even need to be staying at any of the hotels to use them, so if you're nearby a partnered hotel, just simply hop on. Upon entering the expo itself, there was a complimentary cloakroom service for luggage and baggage which underwent a brief security screening, so you don't really have to look for storage options when arriving. Now, I went on the very first public day, which was the 5th of April, and I arrived about 30 minutes prior to opening, around 8 AM. This meant I was pretty much able to enter straight away once they opened, but do keep in mind, as it got closer to opening time, a queue was already forming as more and more people started to arrive. Getting in as early as possible would also play a huge role in how smooth my overall experience was, and I think it's crucial you come as early as possible if you want to see everything within a reasonable time frame in the same day. When I got in, most attendees hadn't arrived at this point, which meant little to no lines with the exception of Rolex and Tudor, so I was able to venture freely from booth to booth and take my time in each section without worrying about bumping into people or obstructing someone's view of things. The booths themselves were incredibly decorated to match each brand, and it was honestly surprising to see how good each one looked, most of them outshining many of the boutiques I've been to, incorporating a lot more than just a bunch of showcases with watches inside. Many brands had extravagant arrangements that helped to express the story and concepts of their timepieces, and some even included historical pieces and artifacts that highlighted their history. It was good to see that these grand displays weren't limited to the new releases, and the aim seemed to be placed more on brand identity itself, with the many manufacturers showcasing a bunch of watches from their whole collection. Of course, the new watches were the main focus of the expo, so some brands did pay special attention to their presentation, but in general, I think old, current and new timepieces were exhibited well. There were also watchmakers and artisans being showcased by brands like JLC and Grand Seiko, and it was awesome to see them demonstrating and talking about their craft in person. It was clear that each layout was carefully thought out, and it was exciting to go from one place to the next to discover what each brand had done to decorate their space. The whole venue itself was impressive with its sheer size as well, with some small cafes and bars scattered throughout, and it was nice to have plenty of walking room for when the crowds start to come, and they did come. A few hours into my exploring, around 10 AM, lines were starting to build up at every booth, so I did have to wait in line at a few brands to get in, but it wasn't too bad, considering many of the watch houses had great exterior displays for you to look at while waiting, with some including their new pieces, so you could take a look without needing to head in if that's what you're really focused on. Being able to see all of the new watches within walking distance of each other was great, and it was good that they included watches from current collections too, giving you the opportunity to compare and even look at some pieces you might not have seen before, new or old. It also gives you the chance to see how the different watch brands evolve from collection to collection, and it's interesting to see how they incorporate or change their design philosophies across their range. The whole event really does give you that kid in a candy store feeling, and it can be a little overwhelming at first because there's so much to see and so much going on, but in all honesty, it's a good thing because Watches and Wonders does a good job at getting you excited about watches, and being excited is what makes the expo all the more enjoyable, and since everyone there was more or less a fan of watches, the environment felt very welcoming. Some of the brands were also giving out complimentary gifts to guests who visited their booth, mainly in the form of decorated tote bags with catalogs and other goodies inside, creating a fun incentive to go everywhere and visit as many booths as you could so you could collect all of the merchandise and not miss out. Not only that, there was a huge selection of free watch and jewelry magazines to take home, which I initially thought were offerings from the Watches and Wonders store, so I did double check with the store staff to confirm if they were in fact free, and they absolutely were, so quite a generous event considering all of the free stuff you could come out with. One thing to note, while new watches were being showcased along with old and current collections, there were only a few places where you could actually buy something, like the Watches and Wonders merchandise store itself and Oris, which I only found out about when one of their staff told me as I was trying on their new pieces. So while Oris did offer the opportunity to directly purchase their watches, don't expect to be able to purchase watches inside the events from other brands. However, this could change in the future, so it doesn't hurt to keep an eye out. Now, if you needed a break from the expo, you don't have to worry about limitations on entering or exiting, as you can come and go as many times as you like throughout the day, and this flexibility meant you had a lot of freedom to do what you wanted. I found it nice to be able to take the free shuttle, like I mentioned earlier, back to a hotel or a stop close by and rest up, grab a bite to eat, or just explore the city like I did. Watches and Wonders was the main focus of the day for me, but it acted as a perfect introduction to Geneva, as I was able to familiarize myself with the public transport system and routes for the rest of my stay in Switzerland. Overall, my experience at Watches and Wonders was a great one, and I had a fantastic time. The highlight for me was the amount of effort each brand put into their displays and booths, and they honestly exceeded my expectations. Having the opportunity to see the new collections was also nice, but being able to also experience current, older, and even vintage pieces was an awesome surprise that I really enjoyed. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of watches, as it offers so much more than simply showcasing the new releases and feels more like a showcase of watches and watchmaking in general. I travelled over 20 hours from Australia for Watches and Wonders, and it is something I would do again, possibly next year. Let me know if you went to Watches and Wonders as well. I'd love to hear about your experience and opinions on it in the comments. Once again, thank you for checking out the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.